And welcome back here, QSportsTalk.com. The last portion of the Coach Boeheim Show live at Carrabba's Italian Grill at the Fayetteville Town Center on camera. And hi to everybody in the stream chat. Start the chatting away, and questions are starting to roll in here, Coach, as we continue on. Part 2 of the show. We'll get to right out of the box. Let's hear, Coach, what did you and Coach Keats joke about during the handshake line?
It wasn't a joke. No, I mean, I honestly, it was kind of a blur. He said something about the referees are bad, and somebody said, "Well, yeah, I mean, you know, we get them, we get those calls too." And he said, "Well, you won, you won." I said, "Yeah, well, we're happy to win, and you got a really good team. Good luck." And you know, that was it. He's a good guy. You get upset. That's what you do. It's an emotional game. And, you know, coaches are going to get upset. They're going to be upset after the game sometimes. And people think we're supposed to just be, like, perfectly normal. There's a lot that goes into these things, and there's a lot of emotion. And you want your coach to have that emotion. You want him to be a fighter, to fight for your team. And that's all he was doing. He thought he got a couple bad calls, and, you know, I didn't think they were that bad, but, you know, we think that way some games too. We didn't get a couple calls, and you're going to be emotional about it. You don't want somebody that just says, "Oh, yeah, okay, it's nice, that's okay." I mean,
you want to be
it's a battle.
Fired up a little bit. And, and then, plus, at that moment, it's literally right after the game ends.
That's the other thing.
And then you walk across.
Yeah, you expect somebody to be, like, perfectly well behaved in those situations. It's just not human nature. You can't go from that kind of involvement and then just say, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's the way it goes." No, it's just you can't do that.
Another coach here. A question for a coach from Matt. What are going to be a few keys for winning on Saturday against Duke?
Well, it's like any team. I mean, you got to defend them. You know, they can shoot. You have to be aware of that. They're a really good rebounding team, probably the best in the league. So that's always something that you got to be concerned about. You know, you got to get good shots, move the ball. And it's the same thing every game. You know, you have to be able to do certain things. Like the other night, we had to keep some pressure on North Carolina State's outside shooters because they're such a good shooting team, and Duke's got good shooters. You know, and they got inside too. They're a really, really good team, and it's a tremendous test for us.
And Duke, one of the teams as young, if not a little younger than yours. I mean, they got a lot of young guys.
They play Roach, who's a junior, and they play Young, who came in from Northwestern, who's a senior, and then they play a couple sophomores, but then most of them 2 or 3 freshmen. So they're pretty young.
Question from Cam: is John Bull still dealing with an injury? He liked his defense and the passing early this season.
Yeah, he did start out well this year. He slipped a little bit in the middle, but yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
Let me see here. Another question, Kev. Just wondering if you see Joe always looking for the foul and then standing around.
I don't see that. This must be a critic of Joe Girard or something. I don't see him standing around too much. He's pretty much running all over the court.
He's pretty active.
He's one of the more active players I've seen. I think sometimes when people don't like a player, they make up stuff. You know? And he may have stood around for 30 seconds or 10 seconds someplace in the game, maybe, but he's pretty active, probably as active as anybody on both ends of the court. He fakes, and I want him to try to get that. When he pump fakes to get that, they missed one. He pump faked in the middle in the second half there, and he got fouled. That might have been the first half. He got fouled, and they didn't call it. Well, that happens sometimes. But, no, he's playing.
He's playing well this year.
Yeah, I mean, I can't talk about that because it's just foolish. Yeah. You know, it's like talking about Warren Buffett not being that good in the stock market. I mean,
because maybe one day he
had
lost.
A bad day. He lost $100 million, but the day before he won he made $500 million. Joe's, every player has bad games. I mean, I watched Steph Curry go 3 for 22. I mean, it happens. That's
just the nature of it.
And any human being knows that they have bad days if they're honest about themselves. So you're going to have a bad day.
Let me see here. This one, what player are you most surprised about with their overall play this year?
Well, I mean, honestly, I felt that Jesse was going to. This is what he did last year. I thought he'd do this. I thought that, I thought Judah was good. I thought Judah would be good, and Joe. I mean, some freshmen you're not sure. Maybe it wouldn't be quite as good, but our other freshmen are kind of trying to figure it out. Obviously, I think Malik has been better than people would have thought. He's been really steady for us. But, you're always pretty optimistic that your players can play at a certain level. They don't always quite get there, but you think they can.
This one, I think we touched on it maybe last half hour on the radio portion, a similar question, but with NIL being a thing, would a player like Judah be financially better off staying one more year than going?
Not if you can make the NBA, but
yeah.
if you can't, then there's no telling where he could go. I mean, he's a really good college player, but, is he going to... Whereas people don't realize the NBA teams have 15 guys plus two-way guys, 17 guys on their team. It's not that easy. And if you're late, if you're a second-round pick, it's hard. Not many make it. Most of them are in the G League. So you want to go in as a first-round pick. I think if he improves his shooting, stays for another year, keeps getting better, I think he'd easily be a first-round pick in the NBA draft. And you're going to make a team, probably. And you're going to make a lot of money.
This one here, is there any recruits, Coach, that... let's see. Any recruits that come to mind that almost came here who would have been a big-time player had they actually come here?
A lot. There's a lot. You're in there right to the end, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose in that business. It's we don't recruit bad players. We're recruiting guys that are pretty good.
Ryan wants to know, in your wildest dreams, could you have ever imagined that a kid from Lyons, New York would come to Syracuse as a walk-on and basically stay there for the rest of your career and the rest of your life, working hard on your craft to become one of the winningest coaches in college basketball history?
Never. You never think that would ever happen. I thought I could get a scholarship here when I came here. Well, it was harder than I thought. But I thought I could, and I did. And then, I was assistant coach. So, I'm thinking, maybe I can get the head coaching job here. I really didn't think about that much. And then when you get it, you're just hoping you can last for a few years. You get a 4-year contract because you hope, well, at least I got 4 years. Back then, you didn't make any money. So if you were out after 4 years, you didn't have any money because you didn't make any money. Back then, it was just $25,000 or something a year. Now, if you get a 4-year contract in today's world, you make enough money that at least you end up with some money in the deal.
This question here, has Chris Bell been shooting better in practice?
He struggled a little bit in practice. He has been struggling compared to earlier in the year. He's still making them, but he's not shooting quite as well as he was early in the year. That's a fact.
More of a follow-up, but I think it has to do with game times and when people are able to go to game. And I know early in the year, when the season started, Coach, I remember thinking at the time, that's the most number of games I can remember that happened over Christmas break.
Yeah, well, we lost 4 games. We have 3,000 student tickets. Whether they come or not, they count. So if they were here, then we're averaging 17 or something. We would average about 19 or 20 if they were here for those games. Because even if they don't come, because they buy them. So that hurt. Then those Saturday games, you always pick up 2,000-3,000 people on a Saturday. So we're not really down that much. We're down a little bit. But I really have always thought that if we average between 17 and 20,000, this is a small town. There's no parking up there. If we average between 17,000 and 21,000, that is top 5 in the country. We're a small city. That's pretty good. That would be pretty good attendance.
This question here with Dick Vitale and Mayor Bing at the game Saturday. Will you guys go to dinner after the game?
Yeah, we'll spend some time. Dick will probably go back. He's flying back private. He'll be back home. He's down to. I talked to him today. He's just doing the one game a week now, and happy to be doing it. He's been such a big voice for college basketball, and he's really promoted the game and cancer research better than anybody else. He's raised, I don't even know, $100 million or something, like cancer.
And they wanted to know, if you do go out to dinner with those guys, can you please record the whole thing so that we can listen in at some point?
It would be pretty interesting. That's for sure.
Question here. Do you have any relationship with Paul Feinbaum from ESPN?
I've never met Paul Feinbaum. Never. He's a football guy mostly.
Mostly football. I guess he's one who had, critical comments on social media, but who doesn't these days?
About that I said what I said. Yeah, well, that's all right. That's what happens.
That's okay. Some other questions. How would you rate recruiting in general over the past 10 years?
Well, this year's class was, top 15 or 20, I think. We've had a couple other good classes. It's been okay, not great. There's reasons for everything, but generally speaking, in our league, we've been in the top 6 or 7 wins over the years we've been in the league. I think we've been to 2 Final Fours since we got in the league and 3 Sweet 16. So in those regular seasons, people say, well, you weren't rated in those seasons, but at the end of the year, if you go to the Final Four, you're in the Sweet 16, you're a top 15 team. So we'd like to have had a better regular season, but we ended up, if you look at the entire year, you can't say, well, you weren't rated in the year, because at the end of the year, we were good. So, yeah, you have to kind of evaluate. I evaluate on what the whole year is. What did we do in the whole year? And didn't do that well in the regular season, but did well in the tournament. That's a positive. And I also look at, like, last year's team. We're first losing season ever. And we were fun to watch, competitive every game. Great group of players. They gave everything they had. You didn't get cheated by that team if you were at the game. You would have liked to won 1 or 2 more and 3 or 4 more. And if Jesse hadn't got hurt, we would have. But he got hurt. That's part of sports. And but it was a fun team to watch. This team's played hard. They've had just 1 or 2 bad games the whole year, and they've shown improvement. And I think they've given us what they have. That's all you can ask for as a coach.
Final score, as we were just chatting there, Maryland upsetting Purdue coach. And kids storming the court there in Maryland. That's not that game there, but the one that just ended here a few minutes ago.
Was that
Maryland and Purdue?
Women's basketball?
Men's basketball.
Oh, they played. I didn't even know they played.
Yeah.
Well, Purdue slipped a little bit. I've had them number 1 almost for a long time, and they kind of slipped when they lost to Northwestern. That was really unusual, even though Northwestern's better. And Maryland struggled a little bit this year, too. So those are good wins.
This one here, have you watched the Netflix documentary about PGA and Live called Full Swing?
I have not watched that. I will watch that. It's an interesting dynamic. What's going on there?
And there was another follow-up question, golf-related. Are you going to follow Tiger this weekend? And I know the answer to that because we were just watching.
I just watched him.
Here, so I know.
Yeah, Maryland not only beat Purdue, they beat them by 14 points. That's pretty. I'm not surprised that they could beat them, but to beat them by 14 points, that's really surprising. Maryland, he's done a good job. He's a good coach. Kevin Miller's a really good coach. His leading scorer transferred in from Charlotte. He hit 20 tonight. He's got a couple other guys that came in there. He's done a really, really good job with that team.
This question here, Coach, is this the most wide open conference tournament you've been a part of in recent memory, or in memory at all?
Well, Virginia Tech came out of nowhere last year and won it, so that was pretty equitable conference. But anybody can win this thing, really.
I was watching earlier before I came here on PTI, and one of the questions that they were asked and they were debating with the college basketball season this year, is it fun or frustrating as a fan? Fun to watch because it's kind of wide open, or frustrating because there's nobody that's kind of dominating and it's just kind of...
I think as a fan, you want your team to have a chance, and everybody has a chance, every game to win. And Louisville is the worst team in the league. They almost beat the best team in the league last night. It's kind of crazy. And that's having Texas Tech was in last place in their league, and they beat the best team in the league. So, it's college basketball. It's much more equitable than it's ever been.
NBA notes, Coach, with the All-Star Weekend coming up, will you have a chance to watch that this year? Do you generally watch the All-Star festivities?
Yeah, generally. I'll watch the shooting contest, probably the dunk or something. I'll watch some of that stuff for sure.
And the guy on the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, is maybe going to be the MVP for the third time in a row.
You could pick right now. You could be honest. You could pick him, Jokic. You could pick Doncic, maybe. Ja Morant is going to be right in the conversation. Embiid should be in the conversation. We were talking about the other day. There's like 15 superstars now. And those 5 guys, and then you still got LeBron, Anthony Davis, Lillard. You still got Durant and Irving. You got Steph, and for sure. Right there is like 11 or 12 names that are right there in the hunt. Trae Young's on the edge in Atlanta. There's more star power in the NBA now than I think I've seen in terms of top 15 players. You can put almost anybody in there. That's great. And the main surprise is LeBron can play at the level he's playing right now. I thought he was slipping 3 years ago.
He's like rededicated, and whatever he's doing, he looks as strong as he did when he was 30 years old, going to the basket and doing stuff. It's amazing. Steve wants to know.
You still got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, don't forget. Yeah, exactly. Some other, and as soon as you finish those, there'll be another 2 names that pop up.
Booker.
Yeah, Devin Booker and Ja Morant, and his name comes up a lot. Steve wants to know, why isn't the ACC what it was a few years back?
We've slipped a little bit at the top, Part of it is Duke and North Carolina have slipped a little bit this year. They're usually up there. So, we're a little bit in the bottom. Teams got weak this year. It's a little weak. Those things generally change a little bit. Last year we won the most games in the NCAA tournament, our league, 14 games. We've won national championships the most since 2002 or 3. The Big Ten hasn't won a national championship since 2000 something. So we're still a really good league. Not quite as dominant as we have been.
Question here: what do you think is the most important position in college basketball? An elite point guard or a dominating big man?
Well, it's in basketball in general. It's the point guard position in general. That's the key position. In the NBA, for sure. In college, big guys still have a big say in what happens, but it's still point guard, I think.
Will you go to the Bruce Springsteen concert in the Dome in September?
I anticipate. I've been to 7 or 8. The last one I was like, okay, I've seen this a lot, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I like him, and I always have. I'm not that big into music. I've been to very, very few concerts. Billy Joel, Elton John. I've been to, way back. I've been to Diana Ross and the Supremes. Those, some of those. Dionne Warwick was a great concert. Rolling Stones, been to them. Paul McCartney was good.
That was a good show.
I've always liked Bruce the best. It's always been my favorite. But I'm not big into music. I can go a month and not listen to a song. So I listen to sports radio or something. But I've been listening to a couple oldie stations lately. So, it depends. But I'm not... I could literally go months and not listen to music. It's just not something I've been... I like it when I do listen, but I've never been that much into it.
Michael Jordan's birthday's tomorrow. 60 years old for MJ.
It's hard to believe. Hard to believe he's 60. That's something.
And you maybe had told the story before. You golfed with him somewhere. Hawaii or California?
Several times. California and Hawaii, both. Good player, really good player. Likes to gamble.
That's how he rolls. That's what he gets his thrill with these days, I guess.
He's really a good golfer. He loves golf. He could play. We played in Hawaii. We played 36 holes every day. Played cards all night. I was exhausted. I came home and had to take a vacation in bed at home because we played cards until 4 o'clock in the morning. We were on the tee at 8. The next day we played the cards until 6. We were on the tee at 8. Next day we played to 8. And we were on the tee at 8. I never changed. I just went right from playing cards right to the golf course and played 36 holes. If I tried to do that today, I would not make it past the second hole.
And Yankees, thoughts on the Yankees this year? Hard to tell. I mean, it's only...
if they hadn't kept Aaron Judge, I would no longer be a Yankee fan. That's all I can tell you. That was it. I said no.
Had he left, that would have been it for you.
That'd have been it. Been a Yankee fan for a long time. We all are. But that would have been it. I think, they got to get the pitching straightened out somehow and, figure out a couple positions yet. But, it's funny, and they're trying, they're doing stuff and all that. But if George Steinbrenner was alive, they would have won a couple or more World Series because he would have gone and got
figured it out.
Max
Scherzer,
when he was available, they would have got him. When Verlander was, they'd have got him.
Verlander.
They'd have got him.
Shohei Ohtani is in his last year.
They'd have got him. Anybody, you name the top 4 or 5 free agents, and they would have run. Maybe they wouldn't have won. They would have. George Steinbrenner would have got those guys.
Well, thanks to everybody here on QSportsTalk.com and the Navi Law Firm stream chat. And tomorrow morning we'll call you at 7:40. Coach, next week back here at the Carrabba's and back on QSportsTalk.com. Catch the game on a Saturday. Our game day coverage will start at 4:30 on TK99 and TK105. We'll see you next week. Thanks.